to make the right click bigger, please.
Is that enough, Mataji?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 6. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 2, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Verse 20. Sorry, Verse 1. ब्रह्मोवाच वाचां वाणेर्मुखं क्षेत्रं छन्दसां सप्तधातवः हव्यकाव्यामृतानां जीव सर्वरसस्य च.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purush, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people.
Text 2. सर्वाशूनां च वायोश्च तन्नासे परमायने अश्विनोषधीनां च घ्राणो मोद प्रमोदयः.
His 2 nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling powers generate the Ashwini Kumar demigods and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance.
Text 3. रूपाणां तेजसां चक्षुर्दिवा सूर्यास्य चक्षिणे कर्णो दिशां च तीर्थानां श्रोत्रम् आकाशशब्दयोः.
His eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas, and his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound.
Text 4. तद्गात्रं वस्तुशाराणां सौभग्यस्य च भाजनं त्वगस्य स्पर्शवायोश्च सर्वमेतस्य चैव हि.
His bodily surface is a breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is a generating center for all kinds of sense of touch and is the place for performing all kinds of sacrifice.
Text 5. रोमाण्युपिजातीनां यैर्वा यज्ञस्तु संवृतः केशश्मर्षु श्रूर्नखान्यस्य शीललोहाब्रविद्युताम्.
The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head and face are the reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stone, and iron ores.
Text 6. आहवो लोकपालानां प्रायशः क्षेमकर्मणाम्.
The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass.
Text 7. विक्रमो भूर्भुवस्वश्च क्षेमस्य शरणस्य च सर्वकामावरस्यापि हरेश्चरण आस्पदम्.
Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter of the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear.
Text 8. अपां वीर्यस्य सर्गस्य पर्जन्यस्य प्रजापतेः पुंसा शिष्ण उपस्थस्तु प्रजात्यानन्दनिवृतेः.
For the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rains, and the procreators. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting.
Text 9. वायुर्यमस्यस्य मित्रस्य परिमोक्षस्य नारद हिंसाया निरतेर्मृत्योर्निरयस्य गुडं स्मृतः.
O Narad, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord is the abode of the controlling deity of death, Mitra, and the evacuating hole and the rectum of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death, hell, etc.
Text 10. प्रभु पराभूतेरधर्मस्य तमश्चापि पश्चिमः नाद्यो नदनादीनां च गोत्राणामस्ति संहतिः.
The base of the Lord is the place for all kinds of frustration and ignorance, as well as for immorality. From his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are stacked the great mountains.
Text 11. अव्यक्तरससिन्धूनां भूतानां निधनस्य च उदरं विदितं पुंसो हृदयं मनसः पदम्.
Impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of great oceans, and his belly is the resting place for all the materially annihilated living entities. His heart is the abode of the subtle material bodies of living beings. Thus, it is known by the intelligent class of men.
Text 12. धर्मस्य मम तुभ्यं च कुमाराणां भवस्य च विज्ञानस्य च सत्त्वस्य परस्यात्मा परायणम्.
Also, the consciousness of the great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, and those of the four bachelors, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar, and Sanandan. That consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge.
Text 13 to 16. अहं भवान् भवश्चैव त इमे मुनयो ग्रजाः सुरासुरनरा नागाः खगा मृगा सरीसृपाः गन्धर्वाप्सरसो यक्ष रक्षो भूतगणारगाः पशवः पितरः सिद्धा विद्याद्राश्चारणा द्रुमः अन्ये च विविधजीव जलस्थलनभोक्षः ग्रहारक्षकेतवस्तारास्तादितस्तनयित्नवः सर्वं पुरुष एवदं भूतं भव्यं भवच्च यत् तेनेदम् आवृतं विश्वं वितस्तिम् अधितिष्ठति.
Beginning from me, Brahma, down to you and Bhava Shiva, all the great sages who were born before you, the demigods, the demons, the nagas, the human beings, the birds, the beasts, as well as the reptiles, etc., and all phenomenal manifestations of the universes, namely the planets, stars, asteroids, luminaries, lightning, thunder, and the inhabitants of the different planetary systems, namely the Gandharvas, Apasras, Yakshas, Rakshas, Bhutaganas, Uragras, Pashas, Pitas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and all other different varieties of living entities, including the birds, beasts, trees, and everything that we are all covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future, although he is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in a form not exceeding 9 inches.
Text 17. स्वधिष्ण्यं प्रतपन् प्राणो बहिश्च प्रतपत्यसो एवं विराजं प्रतपं तप्यन्तर्बहिः पुमान्.
The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally.
Text 18. सोनृत्यस्याभ्यास्येषु मृत्याम् अनं यद् अत्यागात् महिमैषा ततो ब्रह्मन् पुरुषास्य दुरात्ययः.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immorality and fearlessness and is transcendental to death and the fruitive actions of the material world. O Narad, O Brahmana, it is therefore difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person.
Text 19. पादेषु सर्वभूतानि पुंसः स्थितिपदो विदुः अमृतं क्षेमम् अभयं त्रिमूर्ध्नो ध्यायेमूर्धासो.
Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be known as the supreme reservoir of all material opulences by the one force of his energy in which all the living entities exist. Deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from the anxieties of old age and disease exist in the kingdom of God, which is beyond the three higher planetary systems and beyond the material coverings.
Text 20. पादास्त्रयो बहिश्चासन् अप्राजानाम्य आश्रमः अन्तस्त्रिलोक्यस्त्व अपरो गृहमेधो बृहद्व्रतः.
The spiritual world, which consists of the three folds of the Lord's energy, is situated beyond this material world, and it is specially meant for those who will never be reborn, others who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy vows must live within the three material worlds.
Text 21. श्रुति विचक्रमे विश्वान् शासनान शने उभे यदविद्या च पुरुषस्तु भयाश्रयः.
By his energies, the all-pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. He is the ultimate master of both nations and the factual knowledge of all situations.
Text 22. यस्मादन्तं विराजाग्ने भूतेन्द्रियगुणात्मकः तद्द्रव्यम् अत्यगाद् विश्वं गोभिः सूर्य इवातपन्. Hare Krishna.
From that personality of Godhead, all the universal globes and the universal form with all material elements, qualities, and senses are generated. Yet is aloof from such material manifestations like the sun, which is separate from its rays and heat. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the opportunity and sorry for any mistakes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Indira Mataji, for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Puja Mataji and Sumadra Mataji. So it is very beautiful recitations, very wonderful. It is always auspicious to hear these recitations. Okay, thank you so much. So we shall move into the next part of our program. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 6, verse numbers 21 and 22, today's discussion. Okay, so before we start, so first of all, we shall offer our Mangalachan prayers. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांशं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश। हे कृष्ण करुण सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविकास स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शृणुतां स्वकथाः कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृद्यन्तस्त्वह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। एते चां शकलाः पुंसः कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकं मृडयन्ति युगे युगे। इदं भागवतं नाम पुराणं ब्रह्मसंहितम् उत्तमश्लोकचरितं चकार भगवान् ऋषिः निःश्रेयसाय लोकधन्यं स्वस्ते नमः। कृष्णे स्वदामोपगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह कलो न सृषामेष पुराणार्को अदिनोदितः। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रये। अत विश्वेश विश्वात्मन् विश्वमूर्ते स्वकेषु मे स्नेहपाशमिं चिन्तिदुःखं पाण्डिषुरिष्णुषु त्वयि मेनन्यविषयामतिर्मदपते सत्कृत् प्रतिमुद्वाहत गङ्गेव घुमुदन्वति। श्रीकृष्ण कृष्ण सख विष्णु शुभावनिद्रग्राजन्यवंशदहनानपवर्गवीर्य गोविन्द गोद्विजसुरात्यहरावतार योगेश्वर किल गुरो भगवन् नमस्ते। योगेश्वर किल गुरो भगवन् नमस्ते। योगेश्वर किल गुरो भगवन् नमस्ते। तुलयामलवेनापि न स्वर्गं न पुनर्भवं भगवत्सङ्गे सङ्गस्य मच्चेनां किमुतशिषः पुनश्च भूयात् भगवत्यनन्ते रतिः प्रसङ्गश तदाश्रयेषु महस्त्वयां यामुपयां सृष्टिं मैत्रस्तु सर्वत्र नमो द्विजेभ्यः। ॐ नमो भगवते राधा गोविन्दाय नमः। हरे कृष्ण। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are discussing on the Purusha Sukta. So I shall share my screen. Okay, so this is the Purusha Sukta Nirdharana. So verse numbers 21 and 22. So just the previous verse before this one. So here, so Lord Brahma, he was speaking to Narada Muni about the Lord's expansions and energies. So the spiritual world consists of 3/4 of the Lord's energy is situated beyond this material world. And it is specially meant for those who will never be reborn. Others who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy vows must live within the three material worlds. This is Tribhuvana, or in other way, it is called 14 planetary systems. पादस्तयो बहिष्य आसन् प्रजानां य आश्रमाः त्रिलोक्यास्तु अपरो गृहमेधो abruhadvratah. Who doesn't follow the rules and regulations of the spiritual life, they will stay back within the three material worlds. And who are completely ye animitta nirmitena dharmena aradayan harim. So in all times and places and circumstances, who are completely devoted to the Lord, executing the devotional service, they will be staying in the spiritual world. So likewise, Brahma is saying, and further today, in the 21st verse, so he is further saying about the Lord, the Virat Rupa, it is the Purusha form. It is the source for all the mundane activities as well as the spiritual activities or the devotional service. And at the same time, the knowledge and ignorance. For both of them, the Lord is the complete shelter. So likewise, Brahma is saying to Narada Muni. Sruti vichakrame vishwan sasanana anasane ubhe yad avidya cha vidya cha purushastu ubhayashrayah. Sruti vichakrame vishwan. So the Shruti, the destination of the living entities. Shruti vichakrame vishwan. So vichakrame is existing comprehensively, Vishwan, all pervading personality of Godhead. Shruti vichakrame vishwan sasana anasane ubhe. Sasana is the activities of Lord it over, and anasane activities in devotional service. This is sasana. It is the mundane activities. Living entities are trying to lord it over. And asana is the activities in the devotional service. Ubhe, the both of these activities. And also yad avidyacha vidyacha. And what is avidya? It is the nescience, as well as avidyacha and vidyacha, factual knowledge. The knowledge is of spiritual activities. And purushastu ubhayashrayah. And all both of these knowledges and both of the activities, mundane activities, spiritual activities, ignorance and the spiritual knowledge, both everything, purushastu ubhaya ashrayah, they are all taking the shelter of the Supreme Lord. Suti vichakrame vishwan sasana anasane ubhe yadavidya cha vidya cha purushastu ubhayashrayah. So translation for this verse. By his energies, the all-pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. He is the ultimate master of both nescience and factual knowledge of all situations. And purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The word Vishwan is significant in this verse. One who travels perfectly in every field of activity is called the Purusha or Kshetrajna. These two terms, Kshetrajna and Purusha, are equally applicable to both the individual self and the Supreme Self, the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the matter is explained as follows. क्षेत्रज्ञां चापि मां विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रज्ञो ज्ञानं यत्तज्ञानं मतं मम. So here kshetrajnam cha api mam vidhi. I am also the kshetrajna. Oh Arjuna, so not only the individual living entity, kshetrajnam cha api mam, even me also kshetrajna. Sarva kshetreshu bharata, in all the bodies. Kshetra kshetrajnyo kshetrayoho jnanam yat jnanam matam mama. So and here kshetra kshetrajnyo jnanam, knowing about the kshetra, the body, and kshetrajna yoho jnanam, knowing about the embodied soul and the body. Jnanam yat jnanam matamama, that is called knowledge. So kshetra means the place, and one who knows the place is called kshetrajna. The individual self knows about his limited field of activities, but the Supreme Self, the Lord, knows about the unlimited field of activities. The individual soul knows about his own thinking, feeling, and willing activities, but the super soul or the Paramatma, the supreme controller, being present everywhere, knows everyone's thinking, feeling, and willing activities, and as such, the individual living entity is the minute master of his personal affairs. Whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of everyone's affairs, past, present, and future. Vedaham samatitani, etc. Only the ignorant person does not know this difference between the Lord and the living entities. The living entities, as distinguished from incognizant matter, may be qualitatively equal to the Lord in cognizance. But the living entity can never be equal to the Lord in full knowledge of past, present, and future. And because the living entity is partially cognizant, he is therefore sometimes forgetful of his own identity. So this forgetfulness is specifically manifested in the field of the Ekapad Vibhuti of the Lord, or in the material world. But in the Tripad Vibhuti field of actions, or in the spiritual world, there is no forgetfulness by the living entities, who are free from all kinds of contaminations resulting from the forgetful state of existence. The material body is the symbol of the gross and subtle form of forgetfulness. Therefore, the whole atmosphere of the material world is called avidya or nescience, whereas the whole atmosphere of the spiritual world is called vidya or full of knowledge. There are different stages of avidya, and they are called dharma, artha, and moksha. So the idea of moksha or liberation held by the monist in the matter of oneness of the living entity, and by the Lord by ultimate merging in one, is also the last stage of materialism or forgetfulness. Knowledge of the qualitative oneness of the self and super self is partial knowledge and ignorance also, because there is no knowledge of quantitative difference, as explained above. The individual self can never be equal to the Lord in cognizance. Otherwise, he could not be placed in the state of forgetfulness. So, because there is a state of forgetfulness of the individual selves or the living entities, there is always a gulf of difference between the Lord and the living entity, as between the part and the whole. The part is never equal to the whole. So the conception of 100% equality of living being with the Lord is also nescience. In the field of nescience, activities are directed toward lording it over the creation. In the material world, therefore, everyone is engaged in acquiring material opulence to lord it over the material world. Therefore, there is always clash and frustration, which are the symptoms of nescience. But in the field of knowledge, there is devotional service to the Lord, bhakti. Therefore, there is no chance of being contaminated by the influence of nescience or forgetfulness, avidya. In the liberated stage of devotional activities, so the Lord is thus proprietor of both of the fields, both of nescience and of cognition. And it remains the choice of the living entity to exist in either of the above regions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So in this purport, so Prabhupada is explaining about the field of activity is called, so one who travels perfectly in the every field of activity is called Purusha. And Prabhupada is speaking about Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So this is Bhutendri Antahkarana Pradana Jiva Sanjitat Atma Tata Putagdrashta Bhagavan Brahma Sanjitaha. So this is Bhutendriya Antahkaranad, a living entity which contains all the living entities, material senses. Bhutendriya Antahkaranad, having the force, mind, intelligence, ego, and polluted consciousness, and all the senses. So he is called Pradana Jiva Sanjitat. Likewise, Atma Tata Putagdrashta Bhagavan Brahma Sanjitaha. And the Lord who is in all the living entities, he is called Brahma. Otherwise, he is a Jiva. This is also in the Bhagavad Gita mentioned. Prabhupada is bringing this one. And also apart from this, Upadrashta Manta cha Bhatta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Deheshu Purushah Paraha. And there is Supreme Lord who is separate from the living entity. So that Prabhupada is explaining here. And also the Lord knows present, past, and future. So when Arjuna inquired Krishna, "Oh Krishna, you are saying that you know everything. You spoke this Bhagavad Gita knowledge to Vivaswan. But as far I am aware of that, you and me, we are of the same age. So we both taken birth like everyone else. So I know how can it is possible." Then Krishna started speaking. "I spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan, and I know everything. I take birth in my with my internal potency. Atma, this is Swamaya Sambhavami Atmamaya. So I will appear within my same spiritual body." Likewise, he says to Arjuna. And he says at the same time, "I remember present, past, and future, Vedaham Samatitani, but you cannot, Arjuna." Likewise, Krishna mentions to Arjuna. So, and only the ignorant person does not know this difference between the Lord and the living entities. So the Lord is the supreme and the living entity is the minute. So even the qualitatively it is the same. And the Lord is the full in opulence, those 6 opulences. Aishwarya Vairagya Yesho Avbodha Virya Shriya Puttam Aham Prapadye. So this is Aishwarya, all opulence. Vairagya. Vairagya is the detachment. Aishwarya Vairagya Yesho is the all fame. And Avbodha, all knowledge. Virya, all powerful. Shriya, and all beauty. The Lord is full in all the opulences. But whereas the living entity is very minute. He cannot have all the opulences in full at any point of time. So later on, Prabhupada is explaining about the spiritual planet, which is of 3 spiritual planets, Tripad Vibhuti, field of actions, or the spiritual world. So there, even though there are all kinds of variegatedness in the spiritual world, all the living entities are, even though it is full of opulences, all the palaces and the gardens everything is full of opulences. Everything is kaivalyameva murtiman. Yatra naishresha nama kamadukam drumaihi sarvattu sribihi vibrajat kaivalyameva murtiman. Everyone is personified, all consciousness. And they are, all the people are very beautiful. Syama, Dataha, Satapatra Lochana, Pishanga Vastraha, Suruchaha, Supeshashaha. And there, even though they do not have any kinds of attraction to the opposite sex there. There, Krishnatmanam Naraja Aduduhu Usmayadyehi. Even the women are very beautiful in nature. They are not, the devotees, they are not attracted towards the Yesham Bruhkatitaha Smithasobhimukhyaha. Such kind of beautiful women are there. But Krishnatmanam Naraja Aduduhu Usmayadyehi. Devotees, they are not attracted towards the women, even though there are concerts there. So they don't engage in the material kinds. It is completely spiritual. Everyone engaging in the devotional service to the Lord. And here, whereas in this material world, it is avidya, sense. Everyone is trying to enjoy separately from the Lord with the senses. Srotram chakshuhu sparshanam dasanam ghranam manasasya adhisthayam vishyan upasevate. So this comes from the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. A living entity gets its particular own senses, all mind, mind, and all the senses, one particular body, and keeping the mind in the center, Vishyan upasevate, and he will be enjoying Bhukta Bhoga. So, but one who is trying in the spiritual progress, he needs to Bhakta Bhoga Parityakta. He has to reject those things and take only the necessity things required for the maintenance of the body, so that it progresses in the spiritual activities or devotional service to Krishna. And here, and also here, the help by the monist in the matter of oneness of the living entity. So here, this moksha, dharma, kama, moksha, these are rejected by the devotional service. This is dharma prochita kaitavottara. It is the kaitava dharma. Dharma prochita kaitavottara paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastamatra vasu sivadam ta patrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krute. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, written by Mahamuni Vyasadeva. So Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam, who are completely freed from all the material entanglements, or whoever touches this one, they will be purified. Dharma Pronjita, this is Dharma, Kama Moksha are completely rejected and directly taking the devotional service. So that, but whereas the monist in the matter of oneness of the living entity and the Lord by the ultimate merging in one, it is also last stage of materialism. So this is also one kind of, it is coming from the Vedas. And but so Vedesh sarve ahameva vedyo vedant krud veda videva chaham. So Krishna is only to be known by all the Vedas. But sometimes this monists with the less intelligence, they ye anya arvindaksha vimukta maninaha tvayashta bhavad avishuddha buddhayaha, unpurified intelligence. Aruhya Kruchrena Param Padam Tataha Patantyadaha Anadruta Ishmadangareyaha. Without knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his personal features, they make mistakes and they cannot conceive the Lord's the full opulences, and they wanted to merge. They cannot conceive any kind of form in the Supreme Personality. They wanted to merge with the Supreme. This is Paratma Jivayor Aikyam. This is Mayavadis. This is once again Lord Shankara says to the Parvati Mata about the Paratma Jivayor Aikyam. This is, it comes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes this one. So this is verse. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, it is the chapter 7th, and then there, here Lord Shiva is explaining to Mother Parvati. So these verses are quoted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Chaitanya Shankaracharya's, how he preached Mayavada in the so he mentions this is apardam sutivakyanam darshaya loka garihitam karma surupa tyajyatvam atra cha pratipadhyate, and sarva karma paribramshan naishkaryam tatra chochyate paratma jivayor aikyam maya atra pratipadhyate paratma jivayor aikyam maya atra pratipadhyate. So here Lord Shankara is saying, I have taken the human form in the Brahmana and I have spread that Mayavada philosophy. And as soon as it is, what is that, how it is? Apardam Sruti Vakyanam Darshaya Loka Garhitam. Everyone will condemn that kind of knowledge. Darshaya Loka Garhitam. And then he says that in this Mayavada philosophy, I have described Jivatma and Paramatma to be one and the same. That is the Lord Shankara's statement to Mother Parvati, as he has taken like a Brahmana, Kalu Brahmana Rupina. That's why so many people in India, they are in the conception of Mayavada philosophy. They fall into this kind of explanations. This is coming from Saririka Bhasha, who reads Saririka Bhasha and considers himself to be one with the God. So here, this applies. Prabhupada is explaining here. Swarupa Damodar Goswami says that anyone who is eager to understand the Mayavada philosophy must be considered insane. This is especially applies to a Vaishnava who reads Saririka Bhasha and considers himself to be one with God. Mayavadi philosophers have presented their arguments in such attractive, flowery language that hearing Mayavadi philosophy may sometimes change the mind of even a Mahabhagavata or very advanced devotee. An actual Vaishnava cannot tolerate any philosophy that claims God and the living being to be one and the same. So that is some statements that Prabhupada is explaining here, bringing from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So here, the last stage of materialism or forgetfulness, and this is the monist. Monist in the matter of oneness of the living entity and Lord by merging in one is also last stage of materialism or forgetfulness. And then further, Prabhupada is explaining on the it is just only qualitatively oneness, but in the quantitative there is a difference. This is Achincha Bheda Abheda Tattva. This is the philosophy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought. We are all falling into the same path. So, and the Prabhupada is explaining all these things. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mai Vamsha Jivaloke Jiva Bodha Sanatanaha. And like Purusha, in the Purusha form, all is inclusive of all the planet systems, everyone are part and parcels. And here also Krishna also mentions that one, and Prabhupada is explaining that one. And so because people, they are trying to lord it over the material world, so they see it may not be possible in all times and circumstances. That's why there is always a clash and a frustration. Whatever the activity we take it will bring only inauspicious things. That is because of the material people, they have imperfect senses, falling into illusion, and tend to cheat, make mistakes. That is the defects of human beings. So whatever they do, they will come, and man proposes, the God disposes. And in the field of knowledge, there is devotional service to the Lord, that is bhakti. Therefore, there is no chance of being contaminated by the influence of nescience. This is bhakti. It is the day-to-day process. It will purify everyone. So here, whenever we execute bhakti, it is not that we are going to stop. So we execute for a few years or few months and stop it. No, it will go until the body falls down, until the body cannot work anymore. So until that point, a devotee always trying to remember Krishna, do whatever he can. Manovacha and Dhiya, and this is etavad janma sapalyam deheshu iha dehinam. This is through the mind, intelligence, and whatever the money and energy, time, everything it needs to be Shreya Acharanam Sada. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement. One has to do all these things. And then, therefore, there is no chance of being contaminated by the influence of nescience in the liberated stage of devotional activities. So, the Lord is the proprietor of the fields, both of nescience and of cognition. And it remains choice of living entity to exist either of the above regions. Okay, so that is from this purport. So here loko vikarma nirita kushale pramattah karmanyem twadvidite bhavadachane sve yastavadasya balvaniha jivitasham sajjah chinati animishaya namostu tasmai. This is again Brahma statement. All the materialistic people, their plans will be cut to the pieces because they don't hear, they don't follow the scriptural injunctions, and they go in their own whimsical way. Okay, so that is from here. So likewise, Brahma is saying that by his energies, all pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling in devotional self. He is the ultimate master of both nescience and factual knowledge. This is also explained like that. Maya Jakshena Prakritihi Suyite Sacharacharam Hetunanene Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. Under my direction only, all these things are running. That is a Krishna statement. Okay, so next verse is going to here Brahma is saying that all these so many universes and all the Brahmandas and all the material ingredients and three material modes of nature, they all emanated from the Supreme Lord. Just like it is giving once again the analogy previously mentioned, like the sun, from the sun or sunlight, heat and everything will be emanated, but at the same time the sun is different from all of these things. Likewise, even though the trigunas are material elements and also so many universes are coming from the Lord's body, but still he is separate from them. So likewise, Brahma is saying, Yasma dandam virajjadhne bhutendriya gunatmakaha tad dravyam achigad vishwam gobihe surya ivatapan Yasmad andam virajjadhne. So here, Yasma dandam, from the universal globes, Yasma dandam virajjadhne, the gigantical universal form appeared. Gigantical universal form appeared. And bhutendriya gunatmakaha, and contains both indriya or gunatmakaha. These are the both indriyas are all 5 material elements, and this is ice, earth, water, and all those things. Those are 5 plus 5 plus 5. Tanmatras 5, eyes, nose, ears, and tongue, the skin, these are 5, and earth, water, fire, and wind and space, these are 5. So totally these are 5th plus mind, these are the 16 elements. Both these are all both indriyas. And gunatmakaha, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then tadravyam, the universes and the universal form, etc. Atyagad Vishwam, and this is the Lord surpassed and all the universes as well. Atyagad Vishwam, Gobihi Surya, Ivatapan, like the sun, he is a separate from the distributed rays and heat. Yasma Dandam Virajjadhne Bhutendriya Gunatmakaha. Taddravyam atyagad vishwam gobihi surya ivatapan. So translation for this verse. From that personality of Godhead, all the universal globes and universal form with all the material elements, qualities and senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations, like the sun, which is separate from its rays and heat. So here in this one, the form of the Vishwarupa form. So here once again I'm sharing this one, go look at chart. Here there are so many universes. This is the form of Karunodaka Sai Vishnu. This is Yasyeka Nismita Kala Matavalambhya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanadaha Vishnur Mahan Saiha Yasya Kala Visheshu Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This is all one. His Karnadak Sai Vishnu is just one Amsha, and Karnadak Sai Vishnu is one Amsha of Krishna, from whom Yasyeka Nisvita Kala Matavalambhya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanadaha. This is so many Jagadandana Nadaha. Vishnur Mahan Saiha Yasya Kala Visheshu. That Vishnu is Kala Visheshu. And from his body there are so many universes are emanating. And even still he is called Jagurehe Porushum Rupam Bhagavan Mahadhadibihi Sambhotam Sodasakala Madhu Lokasisrukshaya. He is in for the creation of material world, he takes this is the Karnadak Sai Vishnu with 16 elements, 16 principles of creation, and all comes from this Karnadak Sai Vishnu, and he expands himself into Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and there this universal eggs, they are covered by the earth, water, air, ether, false ego, and Mahatattva. All these golden eggs, they will be covered, and this golden egg will be in the universe. It will be covered, and then the Lord expands himself, entered into the universe, and here Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu in the Garbhodaka water. Yasyambasya yoga nidram mitanvataha nabi hadam bujat nadi hadam budhat asit visvasujampatihi asit visvasujampatihi. So from the navel of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, the Brahma comes. So here when he expands himself, and this Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu is the source of all other expansions within this universe. Rupam yetad avbhodara sodayena shashvanyuvrita tamasah sad anugrahaya Ado Rupa. This is Ado Grihita Avatar Sataika Bijam. Ado Grihita Avatar Sataika Bijam. This is the so many expansions come. I mean, incarnations comes from the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. So that what would all the kala, but Krishna Ete Chamsh Kalaha Pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Here this Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, Karnadak Sai Vishnu, these are expansions for the management of material affairs. But Krishna comes personally in his own form. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So here in this, this is the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. And this Karnadak Sai Vishnu is different. And we see this what Prabhupada explaining here. All these globes, universal form with all material elements and qualities, senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations like the sun. Okay, so purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And also this Virat Rupa form, within this universe, the temporary material form, it is like explained with all the 14 planetary systems, which is the temporary. Initially, Sutta Goswami mentioned, and also Sukadeva Goswami also mentioned that Yetad Drupam Bhagavato Hirupacha Siddhatmanaha Maya Guner Virichitam Mahadadi Viratmani. This Maya Guner Virichitam, to understand for the materialistically absorbed people, this universal form, temporarily manifested form is explained. But actually, Lord has got original form. That is the two-handed form. That is the so we will go into the purport again. So the supreme truth has been ascertained in the previous verse as Purusha or the Purushottama. the Supreme Person. The Absolute Person is the Ishvara or the Supreme Controller by his different energies. The Ekapad Vibhuti, manifestation of the material energy of the Lord, is just like one of the many mistresses of the Lord, by whom the Lord is not so much attracted, as indicated in the language of the Gita. Binna Prakriti, this is Binna Prakriti Rastada. Bhurapo, this is Bhumirapol Nalo Vayu Kam Mano Buddhirevacha Ahamkara Itiyame Bhinna Prakriti Rastada. That is all the 8 elements. But the region of the Tripad Vibhuti, being pure spiritual manifestation of the energy of the Lord, is, so to speak, more attractive to him. So that's why as soon as he comes here, when he performs any pastimes, and then Jaga Molokum Sum Akanditotsavam, there are so many activities are going in the spiritual world. So Akanditotsavam, without any stoppage, all the time there are activities. Like we see in the temple, morning to evening, Mangala Charan praise, Guru Vandana, bhajans, kirtans, and then lectures, and then prasadam, and then again so many activities until going into the midnight. Likewise, in the spiritual world, all Akanditotsavam. So that's why it is more attractive to the Supreme Lord. The Lord, therefore, he generates the material manifestations by impregnating the material energy, and then within that manifestation he expands himself as the gigantic form of the Vishwarupa. The Vishwarupa, as it was shown to Arjuna, is not original form of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is transcendental form of Purushottama or Krishna himself. It is very nicely explained herein that he expands himself just like the sun. And this form, in the Brahma Samhita, we know that Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham Barahavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnangadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribangalilitam Nita Prakasham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That is the beauty of the Lord. He is always decorated with very beautiful flower garlands and everything, having the flute in his hand and the peacock feather in his head. So this is Shyamam Tribhangalilitam Nita Prakasham. Tribhangalilitam. Okay, the original form of the Lord is transcendental form of Purushottama Krishna himself. It is nicely explained herein. And he expands himself just like the sun. The sun expands itself by its terrible heat and rays, yet the sun is always aloof from such rays and heat. So here the impersonalist takes into consideration the rays of the Lord without any information of the tangible, transcendental, eternal form of the Lord, known as Krishna. See, that is the impersonalist mistake. So therefore, Krishna in his supreme personal form, who with 2 hands and a flute, is bewildering for the impersonalist. See, this is why impersonalists cannot conceive the Lord's inconceivable energy, who can accommodate only the gigantic Vishwarupa of the Lord. They should know that the rays of the sun are secondary to the sun, and similarly, the impersonal gigantic form of the Lord is also secondary to the personal form as Purushottama. The Brahma Samhita further confirms this statement. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratipavitabihi Tabirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalabihi Goloka Eva Nivasati Akilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabihi. So here the Lord is enjoying with the tabis, with the gopis in the Vrindavana. Tabirya eva Nijarupa, in his own form, Nijarupa. Taya, with all the gopis. Kalabihi, in different expansions. Kalabihi. And at the same time, even though he is enjoying in his personal form with all the gopis there. Goloka eva nivasati akilatma bhoto. At the same time, he exists in the heart of all the living entities. That is the potency of the Lord. So here, Govinda Madipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. To that personality of Godhead, I offer my obeisances again and again, again and again. That is Govinda Madipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So we don't worship any cheap gods. We worship the God who is in the Goloka. Here, this is the Goloka Vrindavana, where the Lord is with all the different Sakis and Radharani and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pastimes are going on. Krishna and Radharani pastimes are going on here. And then there are so many petals. Sahasrapatra Kamalam Gokulakyam Mahatpadam. Each petal having each Saki, Lalita Vishaka and Suchitra, Induleka and Champakalata and Rangadevi, Sudevi and Tungavidya. So all these are the primary Sakis, and then further there are further Manjaris, Rupa Manjari, Vilasa Manjari, Rati Manjari, Lavanga Manjari, and these are all other expansions. Our Goswamis, 6 Goswamis, and also Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Lokanath Goswami are also included here out of plus there are 8. And then each petal having different pastimes going on. That is Lord's pastimes in the Goloka Eva Nivasati. This is the Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita. The Lord is attracted for this kind of activity, spiritual things, not the material things. That's why as soon as he performs his pastimes in the material world, he will go back. Jaga Mulokam Sum Akanditotchavam. So that is Goloka. So this explains in the Brahma Samhita very beautifully here. So here this is the forms and different rasas are going on. So it explains here the spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals. Sahasra Patra Kamalam Gokulakyam Mahatpadam Tat Karnikaram, and corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of infinitary aspect, the whole of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. So the middle one is the actual abode of Krishna, and there are so many petals. Its petals are the abodes of gopis who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are garden-like Dhama, that is spiritual abode of Shri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. Okay, so there are very beautiful things. If we go, we don't come back again. So we shall quickly go into this verse. Okay, so here Prabhupada is explaining all this Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitapihi, the Lord's pastimes. And here the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, the one who enlivens the senses of everyone by personally bodily rays, resides in the transcendental abode called Goloka. Yet he is present in every nook and corner of his creation by expansion of happy spiritual rays, equal in power to his personal potency of bliss. He is therefore simultaneously personal and impersonal by his inconceivable potency, or he is the one without a second, displaying complete unity in a diversity of material and spiritual manifestations. So he is separate from everything and still nothing is different from him. So that is Krishna mentions Mattah Param Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhanam Jaya, and all these so many other planetary systems, Sutre Manigana Eva, just like a pearl strung on a thread, likewise all the universes are under control of Krishna. That is Prabhupada is explaining here. And here, just to see the inconceivable potency of the Lord, so here, when Krishna in the past times, whenever Krishna was on the planet, once upon a time, Arjuna was in the Dwaraka. At the time, there was a Brahmana in the Dwaraka who has got children. And as soon as his children take birth and they were getting died, and he used to come to the Krishna's Sudharma Sabha, and he is to point out to the Krishna, Balarama, and everyone, all the kings who are present in the hall, saying that you are not capable of protecting my children. But still Krishna was silent at the time. But when Arjuna was there, Arjuna could not tolerate, and then he says that I will protect your children somewhere or other from the death. And then Arjuna goes there, but finally he could not protect the child. At that time, Arjuna, by his normal usual practice, that if he doesn't keep his vow, he is going to enter into the fire. And then immediately what Krishna's duty? He is going to protect Arjuna because he's his dearest friend. And then later on, so there are few lines that I'm going to read. After addressing Arjuna in this way, Lord Krishna called for his transcendental chariot. He mounted it along with Arjuna and began to proceed north. Lord Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead, could have brought the child back without effort. But we should always remember that he was playing the part of a human being. As a human being has to endeavor to achieve certain results. So Lord Krishna, like an ordinary human being or like his friend Arjuna, left Dwarka to bring back the Brahmana's baby. By appearing in human society and exhibiting his pastimes as a human being, Krishna definitely showed that there was not a single personality greater than he. God is great. So that is the definition of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So later on, Krishna called his chariot the transcendental chariot. And then seated on his chariot with Arjuna, Krishna proceeded north, crossing over many planetary systems. These are described in Srimad Bhagavatam as Saptadvipa. Dvipa means island. These planets are sometimes described in the Vedic literatures as Dvipas. The planet on which we are living is called Jambudvipa. Outer space is taken as a great ocean of air. And within that great ocean of air, there are many islands which are different planets. On each and every planet, there are oceans also. Some of the planets, the oceans are of salt water, and some of them are oceans of milk, and others there are oceans of liquor, and others there are oceans of ghee or oil. There are different kinds of mountains. Each and every planet has different type of atmosphere. So here the Krishna passed over all these planets and reached the covering of the universe. Krishna reached the covering of the universe. So just again bringing this universal form, universe. So here Krishna in his transcendental chariot, he is crossing the material universe where Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu resides here. So covering all these layers. So here and it is mentioned here, Krishna passed over all these planets and reached the coverings of the universe. This covering is called described in the Srimad Bhagavatam as great darkness. The material world as a whole is described as dark. In the open space, there is sunlight, and therefore it is illuminated. But in the covering, because of the absence of sunlight, it is naturally dark. When Krishna approached the covering layer of this universe, the four horses which were drawing his chariot, Saibya, Sugriva, Meghapushpa, and Balahka, all hesitated to enter the darkness. This hesitation is also a part of pastimes of Lord Krishna, because the horses of Krishna are not ordinary. It is not possible for ordinary horses to go all over the universe and then enter into its outer covering layers. As Krishna is transcendental, his chariot and his horses and everything else about him are also transcendental, beyond the qualities of this material world. We should always remember that Krishna was playing the part of an ordinary human being, and his horses also, by the will of Krishna, played the parts of ordinary horses in hesitating to enter the darkness. And after that, so just a few more, it's already a bit late, I'll try to show this one. So Krishna is known as Yogeshwara, as stated in the last portion of Bhagavad Gita. Yogeshwara Harihi. All mystic powers are under his control. And then later on, so just bringing some direct part here. And Krishna, the darkness of the universe is also creation of Krishna's, and Sudarshana Chakra is Krishna's constant companion. He penetrated the darkness by keeping the Sudarshana Chakra before him. And Srimad Bhagavatam states that Sudarshana Chakra penetrated the darkness just as an arrow released from the Saranga bow of Lord Ramchandra, penetrated the army of Ravana. So means very nice, and Darshana means observation. So, and thus Lord Krishna and Arjuna crossed over the great region of darkness covering the material universes. And then Arjuna then saw the effulgence of light known as Brahma Jyoti is situated outside the covering of the material universes, and because it cannot be seen with our present eyes. Okay, so just there are much of beautiful things. So here, after covering of this universe, they have crossed here, they entered into the spiritual realm, Brahma Jyoti, where they are going to see Mahavishnu there, and they're going to meet Mahavishnu. So this is the one of the descriptions that Prabhupada is explaining here, the Lord's inconceivable potencies. And also these are bewildered, so many people, they are bewildered about Krishna's pastimes. So this is how Krishna is inside the universe, and he is able to take Arjuna outside of the universe and show all the pastimes and beauty of it. So due to the time, I shall stop here. And I also request dear devotees, if you wanted to add anything, any questions, kindly share. So likewise, Brahma is saying to Narada Muni, Yadasyana. So here is saying that Yasmadandam Virajajnya Bhutendriya Gunatmakaha Tad Dravyam Atyakad Vishwam Gobihi Surya Ivataran. That is, I shall stop here. So, and if you have any questions, dear devotees, kindly share. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Amogha Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for wonderful elaborated explanation of these two verses. My small question is that, here it says that Lord Virat form, in a way it says is not transcendental. His original form is transcendental. My understanding is that Lord, in any situation, he is transcendental. So why is it like that? He said, Srila Prabhupada said that that form is not transcendental. Krishna himself, that original form is transcendental.
So here,
please, thank you.
so this verse, Suta Goswami is saying, appearing, conception of Virat, universal form of the Lord as appearing, the material world is imaginary.
Okay.
It is to enable the less intelligent men to adjust the idea of the Lord's having form, but factually, the Lord has no material form. This is Etadrupam Bhagavato hi arupasya chidatmanaha maya gunir virichitam mahadadibhiratmani. This is Maya Gunir Virichitam. This is imaginary form. But Lord has got Chidatmanaha. He is Arupasya Chidatmanaha. His Supreme Lord has got spiritual form. That is the same form that Arjuna has seen in the battlefield of
Battlefield. Yeah. Thank you. One other question. When all the people from this material world, so many material world are there, when they actually go back to the spiritual world, to the purification of devotional service and everything, and what are the forms in the spiritual form of the living entity in their original form? Is it just like a man, woman, or is there any animals, or is just like spiritual one form, or is there any male and female, or is there no distinction of the spiritual body in the spiritual world?
Yes, Mataji. So the spiritual world, it is beautiful variegatedness. Kaivalyam iva murtimat. Everything is personified and responds. There are birds and flowers, different flowers, and men, women, and they have got airplanes. There, Yatra Naishreshem Nama Vanam Kama Dogaihi Dhumaihi Sarvatu Sribihi Vibrajat Kaivalyamiva Murtimat. Every time all the flowers blossoming, and then people Vaimanikaha Salalana Chiritani Shashvat Gayanti Yatra Samalakshapanani Bhattuhu, and people and their concerts, they're always glorifying the Lord. So likewise, many people, so many goddesses of fortunes, they are serving the Lord in the Vaikuntha. All are four-handed forms. Salokya, Saristi, Saurupya, these are the four within the planet, and with same opulence as the Lord within the same planet, same form as the Lord, and same nearer to the Lord. Dadasa tatra sattvam patim Sri patim Yajnapatim Jagatpatim Sunandananda Prabala Arhanadibihi Swaparshadagirihi Parisevitam Vibhum. The Swaparshadagirihi Parisevitam Vibhum. There are his assistants, they're always serving the Lord. These are Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, Arhana, like that. So different people, so some are having same form as the Lord, some are having different opulence, same opulence as the Lord, and the same planet as the Lord. But many people who are nearer to the Lord having the same form, like Vasantyatra Purushaha Sarve Vaikuntamurtayaha, just exactly like the Lord. And Krishna Prasad Sumukum Spruhani Dharma Sneha Valoka Kalaya Pudi Samspruhantam Syame Prutavarisi Sobitaya Sriyasvaham Choda Manim Subagayantam Ivatmadishyam. It is the one everyone desires to go there. Krishna Prasad Sumukam, that is very, very beautiful. Syame Prutavarisi Sobitaya Sriyasvaha. And the goddess of fortune and the chest of the Lord. It is everything. This is tam tvagatum pradyutas aupayukum swasum bibihi te chakhyata akravashayam swasamadhi bhagyam hamsa sriyoho vyajanayoho sivayo lolat shubra atapatra seseke sarasikarambhum. And when the Lord is going there, and with his the entourage, some are holding the umbrella, some are just doing the chamaras like in the temples. When we see for example, in the southern India part, the big temples, they're going, elephant is going, the procession is going on. They exactly Akanditotsavam, all the time in the Vaikuntha, such kind of festivals are going on. Whatever we see this in this material world or in India or somewhere, these are Yayati Bhava Yayata Bhuivartante Puryoho Bhagavataha Priyaha Tastanti Vaikunte Tattat Lilardha Madhrutaha. The spiritual planets from the spiritual world, they are manifested on the
Material.
Yayata Bhuivartante, in the earthly planet in a smaller form for our benefit, so that we take the opportunity and go there and see it, and then get attraction and attain for that kind of desires to go back to the spiritual world.
So that's why it is all displayed in the material world for us to hanker such a wonderful vision.
Yes.
So it prepares us for, whenever one is ready, they can also have the same experience what they have here in the spiritual world.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Wonderful class. Very elaborated, and this canto is very, very expands so much for us to give so much knowledge. Srila Prabhupada, it's all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. In the third canto, it will be more elaborated about the spiritual planets. Third canto, 15th chapter, about the Vaikuntha planets.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Any other questions, dear devotees, or we shall conclude for today? Okay.
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari
Thank you,
bol.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you, Prabhuji, for the
Thank
nice
you for the
class.
wonderful class.
Excellent,
Thank you so
Prabhuji.
much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Brilliant class.